Darren, you're on it.
Oh, that tickles.
Okay, I got it.
Can you
I
see
got
it? Have you?
Yes,
have
I've
you
got it. Ugh, it's coming off
That was
something.
awkward.
What's going on here?
Darren's being just annoying. Right, well, I feel like there is a new Worms game almost every single week, guys.
Oh, well, that's highly inaccurate, Barjo, but there have been many Worms games, going right back to the original Worms in 1995. And if you include spin-offs such as Worms Golf or Worms Blast, then there have been over 20 Worms games so far.
That's a lot of worms. If by some chance you've never played one, the basic aim of the game is to use your worms to take out the other team's worms. You take it in turns to fire off a bunch of crazy weaponry, including the classic bazooka, hand grenades, dynamite, and of course the exploding sheep. But there's also flamethrowers and molotovs, which lay down fire on the ground and add extra layers of strategy.
This latest game has a few new ideas, but it's already one up on the last one we reviewed because it's in 2D and Worms is always better in 2D.
Well, that's also inaccurate, Barjo. This is in fact 2.5D. You'll notice lots of depth in the background, giving the game a more full three-dimensional feel, but still being on a 2D plane for all the actual action. Hex, I don't think Barjo's paying attention today.
Well, Darren, it is a bit difficult with this Pokeball that keeps coming back.
Yeah, who keeps throwing that?
Gotta catch them all.
Well, one new addition is the class system, right?
Correct.
Yeah, well, now you can customize your worms beyond their names by picking a class. There's a scientist class, which gives your worms health, a heavier soldier class, which moves very slowly but can take a lot of damage, and a scout class that is weak but moves very fast. I found the scout class to be the most useful though, because he just moves so fast, and if there's one thing that you need to do in Worms is beat that clock and get to your enemy quickly and try and take them out.
There's also accessories to unlock and voice customization. It's actually quite a cool selection of voices, from Cyborg to movie trailer guy,
It was the first strike of many.
Australian to our personal favourite, internet memes.
Hello? What? Soon? It's why we can't have the nice things.
I liked the tutorial too. It was well constructed to introduce you to all the mechanics of the game. And this prepares you for online play against other people, which is where the real game begins. We struggled to get an online game, but you can always play with the person right next to you, of course.
And that tutorial is really good, isn't it? And I highly recommend doing it because when you jump online, you have access to everything and it's quite daunting trying to work out which weapon to use.
Along with the tutorial and single-player campaign, there's also a puzzle mode with pre-made scenarios that force you to think about how to use your weapons and abilities in different situations. And I really liked these, Barjo. It forces you to think outside the box a little bit.
This Worms is also built on a whole new game engine, which means that it's pretty much built from scratch rather than an older game tweaked to look and feel new. This has allowed the game makers to focus more on the physics, which means everything feels a bit more realistic and dynamic. For example, one of the new weapons is a water pistol, and the water behaves like you would expect it to. This means that if you see a pool of water above an enemy, or if you see an enemy in a hole, you can make life very difficult for them.
Come on then. We're rained off.
Well, guys, I'd say this is probably the best Worms we've played yet.
Yeah, it's certainly the most modern and polished, isn't it? And I did like that it's narrated by one of my favourite comedic actors, Matt Berry.
But this isn't just about fighting. It's about observing nature, collecting wildlife data, cross-referencing. Actually, it's about fighting. Get stuck in.
But you know what, guys? I didn't have that great a time here, and it is a good game, but I've just played so many Worms games now that I feel like there's not much left for me to discover in the strategy of it.
Yeah, I mean, it is more of the same, but I think they've tried hard to modernise it without going crazy off the rails. And if you've never played a Worms game before, then I think you're really going to love this. I'm giving it 8 out of 10.
I'm going to give it 7 out of 10.